Hello everyone. Slight issue, 1 second, and we'll get started. Oh. Well, we're just going to leave the camera. Hello everyone, and welcome back to PSGL. Here joined by me, Richie, and more games here for the Crossplay Cup, something we haven't seen in league racing really before. Obviously, Crossplay being introduced only in the recent months. And PSGL and WR, well, mainly PSGL and WR teaming up to do some cross-play racing last week. Ran Portimao, it went pretty well. Still a few issues with the cross-play lobbies, but you know, on a general note, it went pretty well. So we've got a 5-week cup book for you guys. PS versus Xbox, obviously the World Championship, with cash prize for first, second, and third. But also we want to see that rivalry between the Xbox and the PlayStation. But on today on my side is Moore, so welcome in.
Yeah, hello. I'm really looking forward to exciting on this new Crossplay Cup. It's yeah, like you said, a new thing that we don't really usually see in Formula One league racing, as the crossplay has been known to cause a few bugs. But PSGL are going to try and make it work, and you can see we have all 20 drivers in the lobby. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers that everything goes smoothly. But yeah, it's going to be Australia for round one of this championship. And obviously, the format in this Crossplay Cup a little bit different to what we're used to here in PSGL. We have a one-shot qualifying followed by a sprint race and then a 50% race to round it all off. Points given for the sprint race, it's 8 points for P1, and it goes down in 1 point increments all the way down to P8. So the top 8 all scoring points in the sprint race. But before we get to the sprint race, we do have to get on with this one-shot qualifying. These drivers are going to be under serious pressure for their lap times. They only get one chance to set the fastest lap time possible in this one-shot qualifying session. So we'll have to see. Invalidations are going to be quite a big thing. If you make even the tiniest mistake, run that little bit too wide, you will be invalidating your lap time and most likely be starting towards the back of the grid. So these drivers need to make sure they're pushing their absolute hardest to get the fastest lap times in, but also make sure they're playing it that little bit safe to make sure they actually get those lap times onto the board. So you can see the drivers now putting on their setups, getting ready to go for this one lap. And it's definitely going to be an exciting qualifying session with only one lap, wouldn't you have to say?
Yep, definitely. We've got the likes of Otis Lawrence here. We got definitely got quite a few of the PS and Xbox guys from the top leagues. Obviously, PSGL Tier 1 and Tier 2, and also WOR Tier 1. So these are like the pinnacle of Xbox and PlayStation racing. So we should definitely see some competitiveness in the races and definitely in qualifying. But personally, I think it'll be Otis who gets pole. So yeah, let's see.
I think he's definitely been a hot topic in Formula One esports, and he could be the man to get pole today. You can see we're now in qualifying, coming into turn one. It's a very high-speed circuit with the new changes riding on board with the Mercedes driver of Otis. You can see he's now coming down to turn 3, heavy braking zone as we head into the new, newly profiled hairpin, and then into this very tricky section. Hard to get the car hooked up, very easy to spin your car or make a mistake going through here. Otis taking it quite nicely. Early apex coming into this high-speed chicane, which brings us onto this brand new DRS straight for the Formula 1 22 game. It's a long run before we come into the turn 9 and 10 chicane. A very tricky one. You need to use the full width of the track, but don't push the limits too far. Let's see if Otis can get it right coming into turn 10. Takes that quite nicely for himself. Currently the fastest of all the drivers so far as we now come into the final sector of the lap time. A little bit of a lockup coming into that right-hander. taking it quite nicely though, gets a good exit to set himself up nicely for this final part of the lap time. It's just a couple more turns to go, a little bit wide on the exit of the penultimate turn. Into the final turn though, full width of the track on exit, and it looks like Otis might get pole position here across the line. It's a 1 minute 16.6, and he gets pole position by 1/10 of a second, with WOR Smokey the only other driver getting into the 16, 1 minute 16. So it looks like it's going to be an Xbox front row lockout here, but Otis is the man who takes pole position.
Yeah, what a lap from Otis there. You could see, you know, he was pushing the track as hard as he can, and he's come on with a 16.6. That's, along with Smokey, nearly 4 tenths quicker than everyone else. Like, those two are at the top. You know, they're just in another league. But you look down the grid, and it starts to get a bit closer between, well, P5 and 6. Finn and Jensen, separated by thousandths of the second. And then it goes down all the way. We've got Legend in P7, Argiona P8, Schumacher in P9, then Nay Warp takes out the top 10, 8 tenths between first and 10th, and then we go down to Kryptonite, who's at the slowest time with a 1:17.9. So yeah, the issue is with one-shot qualifying, it can always be a bit of an issue for many drivers. They're afraid to push because they know they've got that one chance and that's it. In a normal qualifying session, you got 2 or 3, even you know, maybe even more. So it's yeah, it's an interesting one.
Definitely is, and we even saw a couple of drivers invalidating their lap time, so we might see a few surprise drivers down at the back of the grid. They're going to have to push nice and hard, and well, this sprint race is the perfect place to do it, as it sets the grid for the main race itself. So those drivers who's starting at the back after invalidating their qualifying lap times, you know they are going to be pushing especially hard, try and get into a good position so they can set themselves up nicely for the race. But with the two Xbox drivers, the only two drivers getting into the 1 minute 16s, how do you see them doing in this sprint race?
Xbox have always seemed a bit quicker than PlayStation. You know, from the race last week, they always seemed a lot quicker. But yeah, it's a close one. I think Xbox have definitely got the upper hand. This race, you know, qualified's a prime example. But take it away, more.
Well, we have 5 red lights. They're gone, and we're away. What kind of start is it for our pole man of Otis? It looks like a decent one up against Smokey. He maintains the lead coming into turn 1. You can see Smokey there going side by side with Talent Factory Frankie. He's able to maintain P2 though, as it looks like Frankie falling down quite a few positions. Is that a mistake? No, I think he's actually possibly disconnected from the session. You can see his car is ghosted, so he is absolutely tumbling down the grid. Meanwhile, Talent Factory Rudy finds his way onto the podium positions, with Talent Factory Legend finding 2 positions off of that starting lap. So it's been a good opening lap for those 2 Talent Factory drivers. You can see though OP Nawarp all the way down into P19 after starting P10. He's not had a good start. He now falls down to P20. So we must have made a mistake on that opening lap. But we're now seeing TF Legend overtaking TF Rudy there, finds a way past. He's made up 3 positions, or VSR Finn I should say. He's made up 3 positions after starting P7. VSR Finn though not going down without a fight. VSR Finn on the outside line. Can he make this move stick? You can see wheel to wheel for that entire turn. Legend with the inside line though, and he gets the move done and defends P4 for now. He's now going to be looking to the back of the Talent Factory driver of Rudy ahead. Meanwhile, Otis almost has pulled out a 1 second gap to WOR Smokey behind, as he's leading, and you can see that gap has now gone up to 1 second. So Otis showing great pace off of this opening lap.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff from Otis. You know, really got the jump on Smokey, so we didn't have to really bother about trying to defend the outside or inside line into turn 1. And then, yeah, Frankie, I think he disconnected because, yeah, he just dropped all the way to the back and he's now 17th as Jack and Sam get past him. Lucas had a jump start, so he had to obviously serve his drive-through penalty. He's now 20th, 30 seconds behind. And VSR Jack gets a 3-second top penalty already. 2 laps in. That is not good at all. But Louis dropped to quite a few positions. I will see there's an issue with him. No, there's not. That's odd. Frankie's dropping even more positions down to P19. But we'll look at Rudy, cutting the back of Smokey, doing pretty well. on these opening couple of laps. You can see he's really catch onto the back of the WOR driver, and he's got to get past him soon if he wants to try and get himself into that DRS of Otis, who's currently at 1.4 seconds ahead of P2. So he's looking, as usual, unbeatable. But you know, it's not nothing surprising with Otis, or as most of you might know him as Elite. And speaking of him, he sets the fastest lap at 19.4. That's probably as good as my qualifying pace on this game. So yeah, that is definitely another level. And then Argiana got past Schumacher into turn 10. The chicane, I think it's turn 10. Absolutely amazing move, but we didn't catch that one on the screen. But yeah, an absolutely amazing start. Who do you think will take the win here? I think Otis will. But have you got any anyone different more?
Yeah, I think Otis right now, he's putting up a great fight in these early laps, and could be the man to snatch the sprint race win and go for pole position in the main race. But one thing to note, WOR Smokey, he's not going down without a fight. He's reduced that gap from 1.4 down to 1.3, and he's going to continue to push on. You can see he's up the pace because some people unable to keep up. VSR Finn has actually lost DRS to the top 4, so that could lose him a lot of time to the guys ahead, and possibly see some pressure put on from his VSR teammate Jensen behind. So VSR Finn outside that DRS, it's absolutely crucial that you have the DRS around this track, as it is so important too. There's only 2 DRS zones or 3 DRS zones I should say, so, and they're all quite long, so it gains you about 6 tenths per lap. But that's a yellow flag for someone who's fallen down to the back. That's VSR Steph, who's made a mistake, and he is now out of this session. It looks like VSR Jack also made a mistake there as well, because he has fallen all the way down to P18. So VSR Steph, our first DNF of the session, he's not going to be happy with himself after that.
Yeah, I'll come to that one there. From my view, Steph's car was still driving. It drove itself into the pit lane after it was retired. So I don't know if he retired on track. But yeah, his car retired with no front wing and then drove into the pit lane. So I think he might have retired on track there. I believe he spun and then made contact with Jack. I'm not quite sure though, as we didn't get to see that one. Jack's retired. Oh, he's retired out on track. Lucas consider view, and he's hit it on the exit 10-4. He's possibly hit that curb just on the exit, and it's spinning around, hit me into all. Nothing he could do about it at all. Which means there's going to possibly be a safety car. Wouldn't be surprised if there is. Wouldn't be surprised if there isn't one due to this game's lag. And I think is it a virtual or not? Because no one seems to want to overtake each other now. No,
I don't think. Oh yes, right.
This game brings more surprises each time. I don't think we're going to safety car, but everyone's kind of sticking behind each other. But yeah, Argiano put himself into 7th, which is very nice for him indeed. And currently, PS looking a lot better than Xbox now with what 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 PS drivers in the top 10, and then there's 3 Xbox drivers in the top 10. So yeah, it's very lopsided towards the PS crew, and Rudy has got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That isn't good because he's P3 and he's going to lose a position, or probably lose it to P5 because Finn is 2.4 seconds behind Legend now. It's crucial for people like Jensen and Argiana to be able to get past Finn as soon as they can, because Finn's just dropping off more and more and more, and this really doesn't help those guys behind at all.
You can see VSR Finn 2.6 seconds off the back of Talent Factory Legend. It looks like Jensen, though, is going to look for the move around the outside. Can he get this move done? You can see understeer city for Finn as he goes over the red sausage curb, pushes Jensen off of the track there. It maintains P5 for now, but that battling has lost them that little bit more time to the guys ahead. The gap now up to almost 3 seconds. And yeah, like you said, Talent Factory Rudy getting that 3-second time penalty. But with VSR Finn holding up the rest of the field, Talent Factory Rudy could still see himself qualifying in P4. and still scoring a decent 5 championship points. But Smokey really trying to push as hard as he can. You can see down to just 25% ERS. As you can see, some battling going on in the background at the hairpin. It looks like Black Box battling away with Schumacher, gets up into P8. These guys having quite a big battle as the DRS train behind VSR Finn starts to emerge. Kryptonite getting himself a 3-second time penalty. He's currently down in P12. That could drop him down to P13. But you can see now that VSR Finn, he hasn't got the DRS to Talent Factory Legend ahead of him. It's causing a lot of battling going on in the background with Talent Factory Black Box making a little bit of contact with Schumacher there, and lucky to get away with that. He maintains P9 for now, but he's definitely anxious to try and get past as quickly as possible. But yeah, like I was saying, with VSR Finn not having the DRS, it's causing a lot of battling to happen behind him.
Yeah, indeed. Just in the chat, yeah, the audio is cutting out for me. It's an issue that is still ongoing, fixes itself sometimes, then comes back from the dead again. So yeah, it's something I can't really control. It annoys me as much as it annoys you as well. But yeah, as we were talking about Schumacher getting past, getting past Black Box there, Argiano got past Jensen as well. Argiano sent it on Jensen into turn 1, backed off just before, so that meant Jensen went on to a defensive line. Then obviously that meant Argiano could have the proper racing line into turn 3 and got past him there. And then obviously Black Box also trying to fight Schumacher again, and either hit the wall on his own accord or had an incident with Schumacher. And we've got Chuck up. He's spun around at turn 1. No, sorry. Yeah, it is turn 1. No, turn 4. He's spun around at turn 4. That is him now all the way down to P16 with a penalty. That isn't good for Mercedes as a team. Obviously, we're focused more here on the drivers. The drivers and the Xbox versus PlayStation, but also, you know, you want these teams, the factory teams, to be doing well, of course. But yeah, it's going well for some, but really, really not going well for others.
Yeah, you can see a lot of people, especially in those early laps, making crucial mistakes that have cost them heavily. One of which, NVR Lucas, made an early mistake, lost the DRS to everyone ahead of him, and he's been down in dead last ever since. And then obviously we've had VSR Jack and VSR Steph both retiring from the session. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers who haven't been having good races so far. But there's also a couple of drivers who have had good starts. You can see Talent Factory Legend started P7 in this race, in this sprint race I should say, and is now looking at a possible podium position due to the fact that Talent Factory Rudy ahead of him has that 3-second time penalty. So I think if Legend can keep it consistent, he could definitely see himself finishing on the podium and starting in the top 3 for the main race. So he has definitely had a good race so far. One man who's not had the best of races, VSR Finn. He's held on to his qualifying position of P5, but he hasn't been able to keep in the DRS of the top 4, and that has just cost him so much time to those guys and put a lot of pressure on him, because the guys behind have that power of the DRS and have those opportunities to overtake in the 3 DRS zones at this track. So yeah, VSR Finn, without the power of that DRS, he's just lost time and time, and he is now 4.1 seconds behind the top 4. But Otis has kept that gap above 1 second between himself and Smokey. He's kept Smokey outside of the DRS for all of this sprint race, apart from obviously lap 1. And it's been a good job from Talent Factory Rudy to keep up with Smokey. Smokey obviously putting a lot of pressure under Otis. He's been pushing super hard to try and catch up to that DRS. But now that we're on the penultimate lap of the sprint, I don't think he's going to be able to find himself in that P1 position on lap 10.
No, yeah, I definitely don't think it's possible for Smoke to get through. Otis has definitely got this sprint race done and dusted. But the battle is between Rudy and Legend. Obviously, if Rudy did get a what do you call it, a double warning or something, obviously he'll be able to take that P3 back in terms of points probably. But if not, obviously Legend's going to have that P3 pretty easily. One thing that has helped Rudy though is Finn being off the pace. 4.5 seconds behind, meaning that 3 second will only affect him by 1 position. If Finn was to keep up, he would have lost 4 or 5. So Finn being off the pace is not good for Finn, Not good for Argiano or Jensen, but it is good for Rudy. He's able to obviously benefit with his penalty. And then, apart from that, there's not really much else been going on this race. Everyone's kind of been sticking into one position because they know it's the sprint race. There's no point doing hard battling now when that's what the race is for. This is technically our qualifying position for this race. Argiano just catching on to the back of Finn, though, coming out of turn 1. We could possibly this will be the last time I think we see him move by anyone going down towards turn 3, and possibly also down towards turn 11. But obviously, turn 11 is a big risk to try and overtake someone on because it's really difficult to get right, especially when on the outside line. Libby gets a penalty for multiple warnings. He's only 14, so it doesn't really affect him scoring any points at all anyway. And then, apart from that, well, Smokey's dropped off about a second nearly, I noticed this lap. Otis is really pushing. Not sure if he's trying to secure a fastest lap or not. But look then as well, we've got Argiano and Jensen and Schumacher all within 3 or 4 tenths of each other. So these lot are really, really close. Obviously, you're not making any moves yet. There's no need to. It's only one position. You're not really going to gain much from it. Also, we've got Scathe, I think that is, on the back and getting past Will Murdoch now in towards turn 11. But Will's still going to fight him back. And that is Scathe on the outside line. Oh, and that's Will off. Will's off. I don't know if he made contact there with Scathe or if he just had a bit of a spin on the throttle. Puts him now down into P13. Also under threat from Louis. And Naywalk. Surely they'll get past. But Otis wins the race. Sorry about that one. We missed that. Followed by Smokey Legend, Rudy Finn, Argiano, Jensen, Schumacher, Blackbox, Scathe, Sav, Krypton, Will, Louis, and Naywalk and Murdoch all go into the line very, very close. Choco going to be 16th. Followed by Frankie's AI just behind for 16th and 17th. And then we'll have Lucas's car coming across the line to take P18. So I missed the end there, the race with Otis winning. But it's not a surprise, is it? Really, with Otis being in that P1 position.
Definitely. It's, coming off the one-shot qualifying, he got one lap to show that he can get pole position, and he did exactly that by a tenth of a second. And then ever since lap 2, he was able to keep Smokey outside of the DRS. Ran a great sprint race, really dominated that one. And it'll be interesting to see if he can carry that kind of momentum into the race, because he's shown that he's got good race pace. But I think one thing that could complicate it in the main race that doesn't really affect the sprint races is obviously the strategies and pit stops.
Yeah.
If someone behind tries to go for an aggressive undercut or overcut, we could definitely see a lot more action with that. But yeah, Talent Factory Legend getting into the top 3 there after starting P7 on the grid. I think he's definitely going to be happy with that one. Talent Factory Rudy not happy with himself after getting that 3-second time penalty, because he was able to keep up the pace with Smokey and was keeping Legend behind. So yeah, Otis, Smokey, Legend, Rudy, I think they're all going to be big contenders in this race, as they were running a good pace on their own.
Yeah, definitely. Them 4 are definitely going to be on to fight for podiums here. Finn, he's going to have to think of something. He's going to have to definitely think of something in the race, otherwise it's really not going to benefit him. This race is 29 laps long. He lost 5 seconds off P4 in the first 10 laps. So, that... Oh, it's wet. That actually adds a twist in the tail, because did we know it was going to rain, and did Finn choose a wet setup on purpose? Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, definitely could be some strategies there from Finn, maybe going for that wet setup. That definitely could have been why he was so slow in the race. He could be, or in the sprint race, I should say. We could definitely see a lot more pace from him in this main race. But yeah, not only this changes a lot of things. Obviously, some drivers may be going for a dry setup. That could definitely change things. And obviously, these conditions are going to be a lot different, so we could see a lot more drivers struggling.
Yeah, this really does change it. Obviously I was talking about Finn being off the pace because, well, he was just off the pace in general. But now we see the rain. That kind of adds another piece of story. Did he pick a wet setup, or was he off the pace? But we'll find out when the race begins. We're currently waiting for players. So, yet again, amazing Codemasters issues. And there we go. We'll get started in 25 seconds. But I think Otis will win it, personally. I think I'll be a bit stupid to say anyone else, because... Otis dominates every league he's in. I've never really seen a league or a race where Otis has lost dramatically. You know, he's always at that top, and he's already shown in qualifying and sprint race. He's got that pace. So, but I'm going to go for Legend on the podium as well as Smokey. I think the top three will stay top three. What about you? More.
Yeah, I definitely think the top three could have a good chance of a podium in this race. But would you like to lead us away?
Yep, you have 4 lights and 5 lights here in Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix, round 1. And off we go. And amazing start from Lawrence there. Smokey, not able to fight him into turn 1. We've also got Legend and Rudy fighting into turn 1 as well. And then we've also got Cos behind going too wide in front of Jensen there, dipping a wheel into the grass. Not what he wanted at all. We've also got the Williams of Sav fighting up into P7. Getting up the outside of Schumacher. And Schumacher's going to try and fight him back. And he's going to have to go up the inside into turn 5. Which he does. Push Schumacher off a little bit there. And a couple of those drivers want to imitate Schumacher's moves there. Schumacher currently trying to defend from Will Murdoch and Jensen. We've also got people at the back there. We've got a Red Bull and a Ferrari. Of Jack and Louis at the back. Don't know what's happened with those. Oh, we've had a big spin here. That is that Krypton and Lucas? Yes, it was. And Choco's out as well. He's crashed down at turn 7. This has been a very chaotic start here. Yeah, Steph's also down at the bottom as well. P18, P19 now. This has been chaotic. Definitely not the most cleanest race I've watched. Oh, we've also had bit of contact between Legend and Smokey coming in towards turn 12. Yeah, we're getting very close now. Smokey got the inside line over Legend there, coming out of turn 12. Pushed him off a little bit there, but luckily they both stay on the track.
Yeah, just about there. You can see these wet conditions have really complicated things for a lot of drivers. We've already seen a retirement on lap 1, so Choco, it's disappointing to see he's not going to be happy with that, putting so much time and practice into getting ready for this race just to DNF on lap 1 with wet conditions. It's definitely very difficult to deal with, but you can see for now the top 10 all within a second of each other, as we now see Kryptonite actually retire from the race, with Lucas, Steph, Jack all coming into the pit lane for a new front wing. So they all had wing damage on that opening lap. One man who's not been struggling so much with these wet conditions is Otis. 2.7 seconds between himself and WOR Smokey. He's doing very, very well in these wet conditions. He's adjusted himself nicely, and he's just going to continue to push on and possibly pull away. Meanwhile, you have Talent Factory Legend trying to put WOR Smokey under plenty of pressure, and he's got that ability. He has the power of the slipstream coming down this straight, and as you can see, he could be going for a move here. Looks to the inside line. Can he be the last of the late breakers? You can see side by side between them, just about leaving Smokey enough space as we now enter the final sector. You can see still side by side, but you can see a little bit of contact there between Legend and Smokey. Smokey just about keeping it on track. They're still side by side, but Legend manages to get that move done. Very, very strong fighting between the two of them. Legend moves himself up into a P2 position, and Talent Factory Rudy is on the back of this, just waiting for an opportunity to possibly overtake. And being third man in a train like this is never the position you want to be in, but he's going to have to make do with what he's got. Meanwhile, plenty of other drivers very close between each other. The top 10 separated by almost nothing, but then obviously Otis, 4.2 seconds in the lead now, just keeps on finding time relative to these other drivers. And I think that battle between Smokey and Legend definitely cost them a little bit of time. But wow, what a move there from Talent Factory Legend.
Big crash. That is Will Murdoch. He's crashed at turn 5. Not what he wanted. He's got no front wing either. I thought I saw something, but yeah, I didn't know what it was. And obviously it was a front wing flying in the air. But yeah, battle for P2, absolutely amazing. Obviously Smokey and Legend, they are able to push each other to the limit without going too aggressive and defensive. And obviously that's cost them a good second and a half to Otis. So Otis is loving this. He's like, you can battle all day long, because that just gives me more time. He's only 4.5 seconds ahead of Legend and Smokey. Rudy's he's been there, but he's kind of stayed at the battle, and he knows he doesn't want to get involved in this little battle for second. He'd just rather sit behind, hope they have a bit of an incident or a bit of an off, which means he can then get through on them both. Finn this time though, not doing so bad in the wet. but he is starting to lead a train there between P6 and P9. Finn, Sav, Schumacher, and Jensen all in a nice little train. Obviously, Sav will want to get past Finn soon because Finn's starting to drop off the back of Ogiano now. Ogiano now moved up to P5, so he's had a really good start there. Had to put himself into that top 5. Will Murdoch into the pit lane as he's got his front wing that needs replacing. I can't see him retiring, but we'll see. I don't think he's retiring. No, he's not. But we've had 3 retirements from already. I think we had 2 on track, 1 off track, if I'm correct. Yeah, Will's going to come out ahead of Jack and ahead of Lucas. Oh, God, that was close. Between Sav and Finn, coming up towards turn 10. Let's see if they can get a move. I don't think he's going to be close enough. No, he's not, but he's still going to keep pressuring him on in towards turn 12.
Really pushing each other as hard as possible. Obviously, Sav wants to get a move on here as he wants to catch up to the rest of the grid, but that's the safety car. Oh, sorry, that must just be appearing on my screen. A bit of desync there. A bit of a weird glitch on my end, but the driver's just ghosting through that on mine, so everything's thankfully fine in this crossplay lobby. But yeah, VSR Finn 1.6 seconds off of Ogiano. And yeah, with Sav behind him, Sav wants to get a move on here. He needs to push Finn as hard as possible so that he can possibly get in that battle for the top 5. So no wonder he's putting plenty of pressure under VSR Finn. But you can see towards the top, a little bit of field spread starting to emerge as we see Smokey 1.7 seconds off of Talent Factory Legend. So I think Smokey possibly making a mistake there, but Legend working really well in these intermediate conditions to keep WOR Smokey at bay, as we obviously saw Smokey at great pace in the sprint race. But with these wet conditions, it's definitely throwing a spanner in the works for him, as struggling a little bit more relative to Legend, at least with Ogiano. Now, outside of that 1 second of Talent Factory Rudy, so he's going to be putting Rudy under that little bit less pressure. But yeah, I think the big battle now is definitely going to be between Rudy and Smokey, but also Sav and Finn. With Sav not having a good line through that high-speed chicane, Finn is able to hold him off for this particular straight.
Yeah, Finn really under pressure now by Sav. I think it was going down towards turn 3. Finn nearly ended up doing a Lance Stroll and Alonso moment there, blocking him off completely. Sav had to tap on the brakes to not hit into the back of him. So yeah, that was a close one. So Finn really getting that pressure. Murdoch has spun around again, or he's been overtaken by Lucas down the exit turn 6. So yeah, Finn's really under the pressure, but the issue is now if Sav can't get through, that's going to allow Schumacher and Jensen to catch up, because obviously Schumacher's picked up the pace his last couple of laps. He's only 3 tenths behind Sav. Sav 4 tenths behind, 4.5 tenths behind Finn, and he doesn't seem to be close enough this lap to make a move. No, he's not. Schumacher's still going in on him, and then we can see the top 5 all separated each by more than 1 second. Louis out the race. He's retired in the pit lane. I can't see the point of that. But yeah, Otis leads by 5.2. Then it's 1.6, 0.9 seconds, 1.1 and 2.2. So, you know, the gaps do start to increase a bit more between those top 6. And then still, between P6 and P9, they're a nice little battle. And I suppose you could even include P10 in there as well, because he's on the second behind. So yeah, you know, it's still going to be a fight for points for many drivers. Obviously, Jensen's got his penalty, so he could drop down to possibly P12, depending on where the people behind him finish.
Yeah, and I mean, with the 4 retirements that we've had so far, I think it's 3 drivers that have come into the pit lane and sadly retired from the session. With Will leaving the session, I think he forgot to retire, so Will is also out of the session. So we've had 5 retirements so far. So that means a lot of the drivers who are still in this race are battling for those key point positions. And obviously with that, Jensen having a 3-second time penalty, that's really going to affect him. And Ogiano now getting a 3-second time penalty. He's only 2.5 ahead of Finn, so he's going to have to push nice and hard to extend that gap if he wants to maintain his P5 position. But yeah, I think now at this stage, these drivers just trying to find a groove in these wet conditions. We've been out here for 6 laps now, as we are on lap 7. So these drivers just finally maybe finding that groove and possibly trying to push that little bit harder. We are seeing Sav once again putting Finn under plenty of pressure. Both drivers using a lot of their ERS. Finn trying to stay ahead, Sav trying to find a way past, as we see VSR Jack getting a 3-second time penalty. He's currently down in P14, so that won't affect him too much in this Grand Prix. But you can see Sav, he's been behind Finn, and in these wet conditions, it's super difficult to overtake. And with the exits of the corners being so crucial, and the dirty air being a lot more effective in these wet conditions, Sav is just struggling so much to find a way past Finn.
Yeah, Sav and Finn are really making this interesting. Finn's defending very well, and Sav is really pushing like hell, but he just can't get through. That's the issue with it being wet as well. In the wet, it tends to make overtaking more difficult, because you haven't got that aid of DRS. By now, Sav would have been past Finn, if he had DRS, obviously, then towards turn 1, but he hasn't, so he's stuck behind completely. And the issue with Sav being just behind Finn is Sav kind of has to start making that, like, mirroring effect into the braking zones, which are making everyone lose time. So, it's not the best situation for Sav. But the issue is, well, the biggest issue for Sav of all, is this battle is letting letting Argiano get away. But, speaking of Sav trying to get past Finn, he's going to make a move for it now towards turn 10 on the outside line. But, yeah, he's not going to get him. He's going to go to the inside. No, he sticks back. And we can see this effect now. Oh! And Sav gets touched round by Schumacher going into turn 9 there. That is a shame for Sav. Luckily, he hasn't collided with anyone yet. We've also got the Aston Martin of Black Box to probably get past Sav now in towards turn 11, which we do see happen. Say that, and also Naywalp are fighting now. These two are getting very, very close for comfort. And also, Sav still fighting Black Box, but has to concede at some point, and then, yeah, drops it down towards P12.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be disappointing for Sav. Obviously, you said there, Schumacher giving him that little tap, and because of that, Schumacher has actually lost the place to VSR Jensen. Although with both of them having 3-second time penalties, they'll be dropping down a little bit further. But yeah, I think Sav's definitely going to be super unhappy with that, as he was doing well. He almost made the move there on VSR Finn, but he had the ERS button and the overtake engaged for that entire straight. Still could not find a way past. I think we maybe Finn running lower wings than that of PSR Sav, so that could be a reason why it was so difficult for Sav to make the move in the first place. We now see a mistake from Schumacher, who clobbers into the side of Naywalp. Naywalp is out of this Grand Prix, and Schumacher has gotten himself wing damage, and what a shame for the OP driver, as he was doing just fine on the outskirts of the points. But then just to be taken out of his control, he's going to be really unhappy with that one. But a simple mistake to make in the wet from Schumacher. Just got a snap of oversteer off of the exit of turn 7. And that's what led to the OP driver of Naywalp's DNF. So yeah, Schumacher now, he's not had a good run here. First the tap on Sav, now that incident with Naywalp, he's definitely not going to be happy with himself, and he now has wing damage and is going to have to box and fall down even further and outside of the points.
But yeah, that was, from my screen, I saw that happen. I saw Schumacher around, then all of a sudden the Alfa Romeo comes and just piles into him. Nothing Naywalp could do at that, you know, he's not at fault at all. But yeah, it just shows how treacherous these conditions can be from any, for any driver. So yeah, it's not going well for some. You've got 5 people out the session now. Naywalp, Louis, Steph, Cripson and Choco. So that is a big shame for those guys. 4 of them being PS and 1 of them being Xbox. And yeah, that's not good for PS side at all. Yeah, Xbox will definitely have something to try and flex over at the end of this race. Oh, we have a spin there from Murdoch, but he catches it just at the last second, as we're currently on board with Rudy. And we'll jump on board with Jensen, as that's the only person who's really close to anyone, and he's just on the back of VSR Finn. And the last time we saw someone try and overtake Finn, we saw someone get pole drived into the exit of the chicane. So hopefully it can go all well for Jensen, but we'll see now coming in towards turn 13 and 14. Otis fastest lap yet again at 26.3 as we are just about to start lap 11 of this race for Jensen and Finn. Oh, bit of a snap there from Finn on the exit. That's going to allow Jensen to close in a little bit. I don't know if it'll be enough to make a move. It might be actually. That snap really affected Finn. And Jensen's going to go up the inside, backs off the last second, sends Finn defensive. And that hasn't really worked for Jensen. He's now lost a 10th. So it was going well, but didn't. Also, Schumacher's in the wall.
You're dead right with that. Schumacher making a mistake. I was just going to mention, because when Schumacher came out of the pit lane, just to add to his woes, he actually went onto the medium compounded tyres by accident, obviously. So he's been struggling in these wet conditions, and I think he might have possibly gotten wing damage. Maybe he's actually gone away without any wing damage, but he's obviously going to have to box again for the intermediate compounded tires. But yeah, sorry to cut you off like that. I was just going to say VSR Jensen, absolutely no pressure from behind, as we see another yellow flag there. That is in the third sector. It is for Schumacher, obviously making another mistake on these mediums, which he must have put on by mistake. So that's why he's having so many struggles, and he's now come into the pit lane once again, dead last out of anyone still in this race after Will left the race, and his car is now ghosted. But yeah, VSR Jensen doesn't have any pressure from behind of Skitzer, so he can just be patient and wait to make the move. Meanwhile, WOR Smokey has actually caught up to the back of Talent Factory Legends, so we could see a little bit of a battle emerge between the Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, Legends lost pace, I noticed, over these last couple laps. The start of last lap, Legend was 8 seconds behind Otis. This lap is 9.3, so he's lost a good second this lap, last lap alone. So I think Legend's starting to struggle now. A lot of people will be starting to struggle, because I believe this will be near the end of this intermediate stint, obviously onto new inters, as I can't see it dry out anytime soon at all, or at least during these next few laps of this race. So most people will want to pit, lap 15 probably, get onto a new set of inters. So yeah, people start to struggle, some obviously more than others, depends on setups as well. Some people might work better with higher tyre wear, some with lower. You know, it all depends on the setup and the driver. And you can see now on the exit, big slide from Legend now, I think. And yeah, 7/10 behind now. So this is starting to get crucial for Legend. He needs to start picking up this pace. 6/10, 6.3. He's losing a lot of time to Smokey. So yeah, this is really not going well for him, but it's going well for Smokey. It also helps Rudy, as he can start to have a bit more clear air in order to pick up the pace as well for him.
Yeah, we now see the first pitters in this race on lap 13 of 29. While that battle between Legend and Smokey continues, VSR Finn decides to come into pit lane along with the Xbox McLaren driver of Skitzer. He's right behind him, so he was able to catch up to VSR Finn, while Finn and Jensen were obviously battling away. So the McLaren driver just a couple of tenths behind, 7/10 behind VSR Finn ahead of him. So he's now got a chance to start battling for P6 it was in this race before these guys came in to make their stops. But with VSR Jensen having a 3-second time penalty, he's going to try and go for this overcut here, because obviously what he wants to do is have the fresher tires, possibly overtake these guys after the pit stops, and then try to pull away, as we see Sav actually setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, currently down in P12, but he's found some pace on his intermediate compounded tires. He's had to use all of his ERS to get the fastest lap, but showing that he has got a decent amount of pace. And that just asks the question of what could have been if he didn't have that collision with Schumacher. But currently down in P12, he's going to push on and see if he can make a bit of a recovery. But right now, about 24 seconds off of the top 10 positions. We now see Jensen reacting to Finn, and he comes into pit lane now, and TF Blackbox following him in to the pit lane for some fresh intermediate tires. So yeah, I think you're right with that. Lap 14, lap 15, a lot of drivers starting to box, but a lot more leaving it a couple of laps later.
Yep, definitely. See, now Lotus has got a 10-second lead. He can pick when he wants. You know, an overcut or undercut isn't really going to help Legend in the fact of getting past Otis. So Otis can kind of pick when he wants. The issue is, people from P2 then have got to be careful when they pit, because that could be deciding of a position or not, which obviously, you know, when you're P5, 6 and 7, one position can mean absolutely a ton. And we can see that Finn and Skater fighting into turn 7. And yeah, Finn just got that little bit of an edge over Skater and able to keep that position of 7th. But obviously, people have still got to pit, so obviously Finn and Skater might move up a couple more positions.
Yeah, and you can see there's a big battle emerging here between P6, 7, and 8. McLaren trying to find a way past the Red Bull. He looks to the outside just like Saab did. Does it end in disaster this time, though? You can see he's got pinched in between Finn and the wall. Has he got wing damage from that? Hopefully not, so we can continue to battle on. But with these two battling, Jensen actually managed to make the overcut work and get track position. So not only does he have the fresher compounded tires, he also has the track position and is beginning to pull away from a VSR Finn. We're now seeing some more people come into the pit lane. Smokey coming out of the pits along with Talent Factory Rudy and Talent Factory Ogiano. So 3 drivers coming into the pit lane there. Talent Factory Legend and Otis going for a bit more of an overcut in this Grand Prix lap 15 of 29. They'll definitely be hoping to come into the pits soon enough, but they will have the fresher tires than the drivers behind, which will definitely help them towards the back end of the race. Schumacher manages to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1 minute 25.6, although he is down in P15. So yeah, I think he could have definitely done well if it weren't for the few incidents that he had. And I think the main battle on track now is between Finn and Skizzer. But Finn, massive snap of oversteer coming out of turn 7. Lucky to keep it on track there as Otis now comes into the pit lane. Talent Factory Legend decides to follow him in.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice from Schumacher getting the fastest lap by nearly 6/10. And the original fastest lap was a 26 or something, 0.2, and he set a 25.6, I think it was. So we managed to get the fastest lap by at least 6/10. Obviously, he's on newer tyres. Otis set the fastest lap on old Inter, so obviously Otis will be able to probably get that fastest lap again by another 2 or 3/10. But Legend and Otis leaving it late. And Smokey gets... Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Legend gets the overcut, sorry, on Smokey. But the issue now Legend's got is the colder tyres. He's going to have to warm those tyres up before he can try and get past. He's got a penalty, which kind of rules him out of that P1 or 2 anyway. And Otis, he's just... Yeah, he's taking it away again. 11.5 seconds now is the gap between him and Legend. Rudy could be potentially looking for a P3, depending if he can catch up onto the back of Smokey, who's 5.7 seconds ahead. Smokey's got a 3-second penalty, meaning he's only got to catch up 2.8 to get that position.
Yeah, like you said, W or Smokey getting that penalty. So realistically, the gap between Rudy and Smokey is now only 2.8 seconds for Rudy to make up that position, like you were mentioning. So yeah, I think that 3-second time penalty is definitely going to cost Smokey. Like you said, can't get a position, second position in this race unless obviously he finds a lot of pace, manages to overtake Legend and break a 3-second gap. But it seems unlikely as he's obviously been struggling a bit more in these wet conditions, and TF Legend has just had that edge in these intermediate conditions. So I think Legend has been running a really great race. Himself and Otis have had great pace so far, but Smokey is 7/10 behind. He might not finish ahead in the final classification, but I think he's definitely going to try and finish ahead on track. And while those guys battle it out on track, another pair who are battling it out is Rudy and Ogiano for P4 in this race, but it's the same scenario here between the two Town Factory drivers. Obviously, Ogiano has that 3 second time penalty, and even if he does manage to overtake Rudy, he'll still be finishing behind. So yeah, I think um, WO or Smokey and Ogiano don't really have any motive to push now after getting themselves that 3 second time penalties. Those 3 second time penalties. I guess the only thing they can really hope for is to try and pressure the driver ahead into making a mistake and possibly extending the track limits and getting themselves a 3 second time penalty. So yeah, I think Ogiano and Smokey in a bit of a difficult position, but Smokey looking to finish on the podium, and I think Ogiano can still get a top 5 in this race, as the driver behind is VSR Jensen, who also has a 3 second time penalty, as Otis on the fresh intermediate compound tires finds a way into the 1 minute 24s.
Yep, on the back of Black Box now, he's just coming in towards Finn in turn 13. Black Box, I've been watching closely. He's started to gain a little bit more pace over these last few laps since the pit stop. He was losing a lot of space on the old old Inters, but since he's pitted onto those new ones, he's really picking up the pace on the back of Finn now, coming in towards turn 1. Obviously, not close enough to even think about making a move. Finn around the similar distance to Skizza, that Black Box is to Finn. So yeah, it's close on between these guys for P7. I think that could definitely go to any of those. Finn, Black Box, or Scather, P7. Then behind P10, 11, 2 to 15, that's probably going to stick how it is. Those are the guys that have had some really bad, unlucky incidents or spins, or absolutely anything that's tarnished their race. Frankie, I don't think he actually got back into the session after he got lagged out, so that's why he's down in P10. But then Ogiano is also on the back of Rudy now, coming down towards turn 11. These guys are getting really close. We've also had a spin. Oh, it's Will Murdoch again. He's spun, or just waiting for someone to get through at the exit of the chicane. But Ogiano's picking up the pace on Rudy now. 4.4 tenths is the gap between these two. P4 and 5, the two Talent Factory drivers battling out for 4th. Possibly 3rd, depending on if they can catch up to Smokey, which is unlikely, because Smokey's gained 2 seconds on them in the last 2 laps. Otis absolutely taking this away, P1 by 12.1 seconds. Like, this guy is absolutely in another world compared to the others, completely.
Yeah, and I think Veloce obviously signing him as an esports development driver, he's showing why he absolutely dominates any race he comes to. And with Talent Factory Legend being the leader of the PlayStation drivers and everyone behind Otis, and is still 12 seconds behind. But I think Otis is he's on another level. Obviously, put so much effort into this game, and that hard work has all paid off for him, as it just shows. And I think he could definitely be a big driver on the esports scene. But everyone outside of Otis's little race has had to push really hard for the positions that they're in. Obviously, Talent Factory Legend and Smokey, they've been battling each other all race. Legend has always had Smokey breathing down the back of his neck, putting that pressure under him and forcing Legend to push just that little bit harder. Thankfully, hasn't been forced into a mistake just yet, has kept it cool-headed, and has maintained this P2 for now. And obviously with Smokey having a 3-second time penalty, that takes even more pressure off of his shoulders. And then obviously we have Talent Factory Rudy and Ogiano behind, also battling. So there's plenty of battles out on track. But I think one of the main ones right now is between P7, 8 and 9 Talent Factory Black Box catching up to the back of VSR Finn and Skitzer. So I think these guys could definitely have a big battle amongst themselves, as they're all going to be pushing really hard, because they none of them have any time penalties, so they're all battling for track position here, and obviously battling for P7, which is a decent amount of points, 6 points in this championship, and I'm sure they'd be happy to score those 6 points. So they're definitely going to be pushing flat out to try and beat one another.
Yeah, well, obviously we've only got 5 races in this cup, so any points really matter. Even 1 point could make a big difference compared to a full season of 20, or even more races. This is where the points are crucial. Otis could wrap the championship championship up in 3 races. If he was to win this race and the next race and the third race, he would wrap the championship up. So, you know, if people want to be looking for this championship, they've got to be getting past Otis in these next couple of races. Otherwise, their championship hopes are over. Obviously, it's £50 prize for the person who finishes first, which Otis will love dearly, and so would anyone else want. So, you know, the people want to push. Obviously, there's prize, cash prizes for second and third, but you know, you want to always be first, not second and third. So, yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. They're actually on to closing on Otis a little bit now by a couple of tenths. Talking the fact it's 12 seconds, you know, a couple of tenths doesn't mean much, but you know, it's yeah, it's something. It's an improvement for Legend and Smokey. Smokey's backed off a little bit now from Legend, and he can't really fight that battle. So, yeah, and that's about it, really, at the top of the field. Further down, obviously, Argiano battling Rudy. And, well, it's not really much of a battle. It's more of a sit close together and try and get to the front. It's on to it slowly. They've gone from about 8 seconds behind Smokey to 7, so they've gained a second. And then we've got a little battle for 7, 8, and 9. Which is kind of staying as it is for now. We haven't saw anything dramatic just yet, but it's PSGL. It's Xbox, it's PlayStation. Something will definitely be happening dramatically soon between those 3 guys.
Yeah, and I just noticed Ogiano got another 3-second time penalty, so he's now up to 6 seconds of time penalties, which means VSR Jensen behind. If he can find 6 tenths on Ogiano, could see himself finish in the top 5. So that's another battle that's going to emerge there. And yeah, like you mentioned with Legend, actually managing to find a few tenths and keeping a decent pace up against Otis. So yeah, I think Legend is doing a really great job in this race to keep up with Otis. Obviously, like we're mentioning many times before, one of the fastest drivers. Not only on Xbox, but it seems out of the PlayStation drivers too. But yeah, Talent Factory Legend, he's drove a great race, hasn't made many mistakes, hasn't got a 3-second time penalty, and is now 3 seconds ahead of WOR Smokey. So I think he could definitely secure P2 in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, VSR Jensen is going to be pushing nice and hard to try and get that P5 position. But the only difference between himself and Ogiano is that Ogiano has the power of slipstream from Talent Factory Rudy, just pulling him that little bit ahead. And well, another thing is WOR Smokey also has 6 seconds of time penalties, which means Talent Factory Rudy is now just 1 second off of a podium position. So there are plenty of battles beginning to emerge. They may not be on track battles for track position with side-by-side racing, but with all these time penalties, we could.
Oh, more. Well, was gone. Well, I'll take over. Yep, Smokey 3.2 seconds behind Legend. Not really much going on between these two. And as he was mentioning, Rudy only a second away from a podium position, which in your first race in this Crossplay Cup, podium is very, very good. You know, currently Xbox taking the win, PlayStation taking second, and then Xbox also taking the second podium position. Well, third podium position, but second for Xbox. And obviously then the 3 behind are all PlayStation. So it's very close, neck and neck on points. We're not really basing the championship off of the Xbox versus PlayStation points, but it will be mainly Drivers' Championship. But you know what? I'll get something together where we can look at the PlayStation, Xbox. I'll work them out, and then we can also talk about that little battle because you know the main reason we're here, Xbox versus PS, it's crossplay. You know we want that battle between the 2 platforms. Otherwise, well, you know it's not it's not really interesting. Obviously, there's no prize for the winning platform, but it adds that sense of competition. Still, these people want to be doing better. Want to be getting themselves, want to be getting their platform ahead of the others. It's Xbox and PlayStation. Young teenagers, they all have egos. If they can win, get on top, they're gonna have a way bigger ego than the others, and they're like, well, you got second, I got first. So, this, it'll definitely be a big ego boost when he drives it and get first. It's not an official championship, but it's still a championship after all. But yeah, as we're looking on at turn 1 now, I'll get on the back of Rudy. 5 tenths is their gap. Argiano doesn't really need to pass Rudy because, well, he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties, so he'll just be stuck behind. I mean, sorry, no, he'll just drop back behind after the final race clarification. And we'll look back at Black Box, who's currently 7/10 behind Finn. The battle for P7's kind of ended now. It's now a battle for P8 and 9. We've had a spin from Will Murdoch. He's now heading 15, 22 seconds behind. He's had a really bad race. Really been struggling on those inters. But then again, you know, inters, well, wet in general is hard to do on this track. You know, it's a really hard track to drive in the wet. It's a really hard track to drive in the dry. So, you know, it's been a big challenge for many of the drivers here. You know, we've seen people in qualifying be a lot quicker, and in the sprint race be a lot quicker in the dry than they have been in this wet. That could be just setup. That could also just be due to skill. Some of them aren't as good in the wet. Some of them are better. Otis is just on another level as normal. You know, as I said before, it's not very surprising to see Otis 13 seconds ahead. If it was someone else, I might think, hang on, how have they got 13 seconds ahead? But the fact it's Otis, it's not a surprise. It's something we see commonly in many Xbox leagues and probably soon to be PlayStation crossplay leagues. So yeah, Otis is going to win this pretty easily, I think, unless he crashes. Which then, if he even spins, he can still probably get out, get back on track, and get his tyres cooled down before the others catch up. But you know, Legend is also having a really good race as well. He's kept out the penalties. He's been able to fight under that pressure with Smokey. He's got past Smokey. And he's now looking for a P2 finish. So, you know, it's going well. And obviously he'll be second in the championship. Or third, depends on what Smokey gets. Because of the sprint race. But still, you know, it's what he wants. Frankie, on the back of Jack. I don't know, it's not the real Frankie, so it's not going to be that interesting to watch. Oh, Sav's in the pit lane. New front wing. So he's had an incident there. He's now dropped down outside the points into P12. That's put Jack into the points. And he's got a penalty though, so that'll put Frankie's AI into the points.
Sorry there, everyone. Just having a couple of connection issues, but thankfully I'm back. And doesn't look like much has changed, as obviously Otis Lawrence still dominating this race. 14 seconds is the gap between himself and the Talent Factory driver of Legend. So doing a really solid job in this race. Just keep setting fastest lap after fastest lap. So yeah, like you said, I think he's definitely going to win this race. As yeah, as you see there, Ogiano, I think he's just made the move on Talent Factory Rudy on the pitch straight there. He moved himself up into P4. But as of right now, those 6 seconds of time penalties is going to drop him right back. But Viasar Jensen in P6 going to be pushing nice and hard to try and make up the difference between himself and Ogiano, because for the Alfa Romeo driver, top 5 could definitely be in the cards for him. So I think if he can keep up a good, consistent pace for these final 3 laps, we could definitely see the VSR driver finish in the top 5.
Definitely. I don't know if Argiano was let through by Rudy, because it seemed really odd how Rudy was so slow, and Argiano got past him halfway down the straight. I don't know if it's just my screen, but it looks like it's getting a little bit wetter, but it could just be my screen here. But yeah, Argiano obviously going to lose position to Rudy. Rudy isn't really that bothered if he gets put behind, because he's got 6 seconds worth. That is also... It's on the cusp of possibly Jensen being able to get that position as well, because if Jensen can close 4/10 maybe, that will put him into that P5. Put him into P5. Yeah, pushes Argiano into P6, and then the people behind haven't really got to worry about catching up on Argiano, because they're not close enough at all. That box though, still less than a second behind Finn. Finn's starting to drop a lot of time now, 4.9 seconds behind P7. So he's definitely going to have to sort of pick up the pace, because it's allowing Black Box just to carry on cruising behind, and then Jack is 37 seconds behind. So yeah, he's not really going to be looking to get P any higher than P10 today. He's also got a penalty. Legend has got a 3-second time penalty, but it doesn't really matter, because Smokey's got 3 seconds as well. Meaning at the moment, people are going to be winning and losing positions on penalties, apart from Otis, who's got no penalty, and he's 15 seconds clear. With the 3-second penalty added on, he'll be 18 seconds clear. So he's nearly a pit stop ahead of everyone. after penalties, obviously.
He is absolutely flying in this Grand Prix. We can see coming towards the end of the race as Sav actually manages to snatch the fastest lap away from Otis. So unless Otis can find a response to that, he'll be losing that fastest lap point. But yeah, these drivers struggling in these late stages. TF Legend got himself a 3-second time penalty, which thankfully won't affect his race too much. But another man who got a 3-second time penalty was actually Ogiano, who moves up to now 9 seconds of time penalties, which now means if VSR Jensen can just maintain the gap that he has currently, he could see himself finish in the top 5, as he is within the 6 seconds necessary to gain the position off of Ogiano. But one thing you mentioned earlier was that you think maybe Talent Factory Rudy let Ogiano through, and I think that's definitely a possibility. Obviously, Rudy and Ogiano, both Talent Factory esports teammates, so they want to see themselves do as good as they possibly can for each other. But with Ogiano getting that other 3-second time penalty, but now Jensen gets a 3-second time penalty and throws away a chance of a top 5. It was the perfect opportunity for him to get into a top 5 position after Ogiano moving up to 9 seconds of time penalties. But VSR Jensen now moves up to 6 seconds of time penalties, and there's a lot of time penalties going on. Starting to get a little bit confusing, but I think right now Ogiano will finish P5 and Jensen will actually lose a position and fall down to P7. So Skitzer could see himself finishing within the top 6 now after that. So I think time penalties, yeah, like you said, they're going to decide definitely a couple of positions in this Grand Prix.
Definitely. One position that definitely will be affected by penalties is P1. P2, 3, 4 won't, but P5, 6 and 7 will. Obviously, Finney's out of contention for any penalty position, so he's going to be P8. Jack and Sav's got past Frankie. Jack's got 9 seconds of penalties, I think, which means Frankie will be able to jump both Sav and Jack, put Frankie to P10. In an AI car, I mean, an AI will score points. And there's someone off. That's Ogiano! Out of the race! On the final lap of the race, he's out. That was a big surprise. Didn't expect to see that one coming. But if you want to call the end of the race, because Otis is on the final lap already.
Yeah, I am absolutely speechless at that. No clue what to say, but you can see Otis Lawrence now comes across the line to win the first round of this Crossplay Cup. He'll be very happy with his performance there. And you can see Talent Factory Legend, I think he might have disconnected from the session. I'm not sure because he's actually dropped behind WOR Smokey, but thankfully won't affect his race too much as Smokey 6 seconds of time penalties. Talent Factory Legend regains that P2 position. But wow, a crash from Ogiano there at the final lap of the race. I think that was the exit of turn 5. Just got on the power a little bit too early, and just a simple mistake like that, losing him a top 5 position. So he's going to be super disappointed with that result, as a top 5 would have gotten him 10 points in this Grand Prix. So yeah, out and 0 points for Ogiano, which now gives actually Jack P9 in this Grand Prix, so he'll get 2 points for himself. And Tia Frankie is actually going to get points, although he's been disconnected for the sprint race and the Grand Prix as well, so I'm not sure if he'll actually get those points in the championship. But his AI car is going to... Or no, he actually finishes in P11 in this Grand Prix, because obviously he finished the lap down, so Ogiano still finishes in the top 10 even after DNFing, but still obviously won't get any points from that. But wow, what a performance from Otis. I mean, completely dominated that race from lap 1, wouldn't you have to say?
Indeed. Yeah, Otis drives it easily. Jack gets it in the game, but from Mars it's Otis easily. You know, he's done a Grand Slam, first in qualifying, first in sprint, and first in the race. You know, nothing more we can say about that, really. Once the screen loads, we can actually have a look at the points different drivers got, because obviously we've got the sprint race points and the normal race points. We need to add them up and see who gets where for this first event. But it's been a good race for the first event here in the Crossplay Cup. And there's been a few issues, but it's not gone, not gone too bad. But we can look there at the points. Otis has 33, Legend on 24, Smokey on 22, loses out just by 2 points. Then Rudy gets 17 points, followed by Finn on 10, Jensen on 10, Skitzer on 10, then Ogiano on 4, Black Box 4, Jack 2, and Schumacher on 1. So it looks pretty simple who might win the championship already after the first race. But it's been a good one. There's been issues, but apart from that, there's nothing else we can really take away. If anyone on here on the Xbox platform, PlayStation wants to hop in for an interview, that would be greatly appreciated. Just so we can have a chat. I don't know if any of you guys use Discord or not. But yeah, we can get the interview screens. See if we can get a couple in for an interview. In case that is possible. We'll have a look though. But yeah, what a race. Do you agree it was good, Mort? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, definitely towards the end, there was a lot more mind games and trying to keep it consistent towards the end. But those are actually your driver standings there. Obviously, Otis 33 with Tom Factory Legend P2 in the standings, 24 points. So the difference between them is just 9. But you saw how close it was between Skitzer, VSR Finn, and VSR Jensen during the sprint and the main race. And well, it reflects in the standings because all three drivers on 10 points each. So could see a big battle between those three guys for the rest of the season, which would definitely be interesting to see. We could see a little bit of a rivalry emerge. But off of that first round, 2 Xbox drivers onto the podium with the 1 PlayStation driver of Talent Factory Legend flying the flag for PlayStation. He manages to finish P2 in that Grand Prix. But yeah, what a race that was. And this new format is it's definitely an interesting one. That one-shot quali, it's so crucial to get that lap in. But obviously, if you make a mistake, you can make it all up in the sprint race, which we saw a couple of drivers do. But if you make a mistake in the sprint race, it's definitely very hard to recover in the main race itself. So yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a very interesting 5 rounds. And with only 5 rounds, not too many championship points to be given. So with a 33 points and almost max points for Otis, I think that's going to be a crucial start for him in the championship.
Yeah, indeed. Just so people know, we don't actually know the calendar because we've got the 5 races, and each track will be announced 24 hours before the race. So we will find out what the next track is on October the 31st at 8 p.m. I think, because that's 24 hours before, and then so on every single week. So yeah, we don't know where we're going to be racing next week. Should we both make a guess at where we think we'll be? I'm gonna guess at Kota.
I think one thing that the PSGL owner Big C actually mentioned was that we did Australia, and he said that it wasn't on the PSGL calendar, so maybe we could see more tracks that weren't on the PSGL calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think, maybe one track that we could see. We could even see ourselves going to China or Portimao, one of the
Could do.
DLC tracks in this game.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely a possibility. Yeah, obviously we haven't raced at China yet, but we've raced at Portimao. That was in the first crossplay event, which was hosted. I think it was last week. I think it was, or the week before. So not too long ago at Portimao. So China's definitely a possibility. Yeah. Be nice to see there, or possibly maybe we'll go a bit something to real life F1, maybe Brazil or Mexico or something. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a good calendar. The PSGL always make a good calendar every season. So WOR. So we should definitely see something good for the next 4 races.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there, especially after what we've seen there. We get so much action. Obviously, 39 laps with the sprint and the race combined. So for the next 4 rounds, this Crossplay Cup, obviously the battle between Xbox and PlayStation, the battle of the consoles. I think it's definitely gonna be an exciting one. And obviously, Xbox coming out on top today. 2 drivers on to the podium. But yeah, I enjoyed that race. It was definitely a good one. A lot of strategy in play there, even though it obviously wasn't much tire strategy with the wet conditions. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't have much more to say about that. Obviously, Otis dominating that race doesn't give us much of a talk about a battle for the race win, but there was a good battle for the podium between Legend and Smokey.
Yeah, but yeah, we're going to end it here, everyone. So yeah, thank you all for joining in the stream. Really nice to see everyone in the chat. Views have been really good today as well. And obviously, thanks to more for joining me here today's Reserve Comms. Maybe we'll see you next week, or maybe we'll see the other one here. We'll see next time. But it's a goodbye from me and more.
Goodbye for now.